It's 9:01. I will be starting the meeting because we have in the start of our agenda the election of chair, and until we completed that section, I will chair the meeting. Can everybody hear us? Yeah, hands up. Good. Wonderful. Thank you. So I call the meeting to order. Item 3 on the agenda, election of committee chair, and I will call for nominations 3 times. So first time, call for nominations.
I will nominate Director Newell.
Director Newell, will you let your name stand?
Yeah, I'd let my name stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna do that. So I sit closer to you.
He pre-warned me already. Second call for nominations for chair of the Water Services Committee for 2026. Seeing none, a third and last call for nominations. Seeing no hands up, hearing nothing, Director Newell, by acclamation, you are chair for
My favorite word.
meeting, and you have the
Acclamation.
opportunity
Yeah.
to address the
Go
committee.
sit closer to your nominator. Move along.
Thanks, any group along.
Yeah. Okay, see you later. Do you want me to take your calls? Your phone calls?
Did I not spill anything?
You want control or should I?
Do you mind?
I don't.
Just vote organized. Just vote.
You have to do pen. Do you have a pen?
Yeah.
Do you want?
Thought I had one.
What do you do now? I know
Do
it's
now, Mitch.
not,
Give it back. Oh, here.
not the portable color.
No, I've got
You
the color
used to
picture one.
There.
Away the tears? Okay.
Just about, folks, just about. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. The nominators and the voters. People, I'm humble. Grateful. Thank you. Thought of something, just give me a second. Is everyone here, Emma?
And everyone apart from Director Watson.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, the meeting is, I guess, announcement of the meeting, so we'll commence the meeting, right now. And, we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I see it moved and seconded here in the office here and online. Any additions, anything anyone would like to add?
Sorry,
Discussion? Yes.
We've just updated the O&M and capital report. I stuck in a new version before and hadn't told Emma, and she sent out the old version. So it's been sent to all the directors by email. So we'll be referencing that one.
Check your emails, ladies and gentlemen.
So, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Is what's in the e-scribe the latest, or should we be looking at email?
You, once we get to staff reports number 6.1, operation maintenance and capital update, that has been updated and sent to your emails.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be referencing that one.
Okay, so everyone take a second, go to your emails. And
What
that's,
about to the public?
And the public,
Yeah, it's a bit permanent.
thank you.
We can't add something to the agenda after publication.
What did you add?
I added a summary of the capital projects that were completed in 2025 with the dollar values associated with each of the projects.
And the after fact? You know,
Just give us a second.
I mean, I can't upload it and there's no time to post it for the public. It would take me too long.
after the meeting, you mean?
No, I mean, I can after the meeting. I can't do it right now. I wouldn't have time.
It's FYI.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go from 6.1, but perhaps you could just mention some stuff in your report and then we'll post it afterwards.
We'll get advice what we can do in this, but you can't just lay on the table type of stuff. Okay, with an online meeting, does not work.
And that is absolutely fair.
Yeah,
This was
okay.
just, it was,
Just more
Yes.
information.
yeah, it's more information.
Yeah.
I can verbally give you the overall capital that was spent, but the individual capital items, capital project items, I don't want to go through that list necessarily verbally.
And it's not for decision making, it's for information,
It's
correct?
just FYI.
Yeah, okay.
Good enough.
Excuse me if I may. I can try to update the agenda. If you wanted to move that item to later in the meeting, I can try to update the PDF agenda and upload it to the website so it's available to the public as we're going through the meeting. But I would need that item to be moved to later in the.
You should get advice on that if that's actually allowable.
Chair, on the process.
Yes,
Yeah,
Director Popoff, go ahead.
yeah, thank you, Chair. Do we need a motion to add this to the agenda, even though we move the agenda as it is? This will be in addition to the agenda, so from what I understand, we need a motion, 2/3 majority to add this to the agenda, a change in the report.
Can I suggest that we do not, because if it's a written document and we can provide it to the public in a public meeting, I'm not so sure we can. I don't see a problem with a verbal report being added, but I don't know that we can do a written document add to the agenda, even with the director's approval.
Because of the public.
Yeah, it likely would then be added in the next meeting or something like that. And I would suggest that's what we do instead of trying to scramble here, adding an item. Again, it is only for information, so it's non-critical. These directors have it. If in some form you need to relate to it in part of the budget process, which I don't think you have to, but I would suggest we stay static with the agenda that you have right now.
Here's the supplemental, so this is gonna be a verbal report, and we will have the written report on the next meeting agenda.
You have a written report, but there is additions to that written report that we provide after the fact in the next meeting if it's important. But I would say we leave the agenda as it is.
Yeah, go ahead, Director Cunningham.
With regards to what was just discussed, the normal procedure update, that if somebody's giving a verbal report, as when we get anybody who gives a verbal report, very often we ask for it to be sent to us after the fact when it's included
Correct.
in the report.
Fair enough.
And we can do the exact same thing here.
Fair enough. Okay, so with that in mind, you will receive an update to the report. Will have received, and it will be on the agenda in the next agenda, just so that the public has access to that. And now we'll go to 6.1. Alex.
Thank you, Chair. This is the operation maintenance capital update report. I will give a verbal update that's not included in the executive summary that provides the director's information on the total value of capital projects completed in 2025. The intent of this report is to provide an update to the committee and highlight the larger maintenance and capital projects completed to date in 2026. The updated report will also provide an overview of all capital projects completed in 2025 with associated costs that will be provided or has been emailed to the directors. The verbal update that I'm adding here, the total value of 2025 capital replacement and or installation for both Water East and Water West divisions is $3,161,040. That was completed in 2025. I'm not going to go through this report by line item, but I welcome any questions that directors may have.
Okay, we're scanning the room here, we're scanning online. And of course, you can always check with Alex if something pops up and you'd like some clarification, or a member asks you about something and you want clarification, it's always available. And there was no motion, it's for information. Oh, Director Jackman, go ahead, please.
Thanks. So either ask it here or ask it under budget, can fit either, I guess. There's talk about, for future capital on Sanka, whether or not we're going to have a water line relocation, or we're in the process instead of reducing the area. Coupled with that, we were looking for a statutory right-of-way confirmation. There's been some work of installation of a private line. That private line may cross our line, may have already crossed our line. So it's somebody else's capital work crossing perhaps our main line. Has staff been monitoring that? I heard just incidentally from the contractor in a side conversation that they're almost done. So have we seen them cross our main line, and have we used that opportunity to verify the location within the presumed statutory or future statutory right-of-way of where exactly our pipe is, because we were uncertain?
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Through the chair. I have not yet been to site. I have been in communication with that landowner who's doing that water line work currently. Myself are planning to go to Sanka for that site visit, as well as another site visit with the owner of the North Line, 2 properties that we recently amended the service establishment bylaw for. So I can report back after that meeting on what we find.
Supplemental?
Yes, please. So these machines are expensive, a few $100 an hour. It's a big machine. The train there, it's full of big boulders. And that machine might demobilize. And I thought this is where we would have a close contact. That machine's on site and they've crossed our line, and we want to know if our line is 1 foot or 5 feet deeper than where they crossed. And if there's boulders over top of it, this is the only time to check it, not when it works out, sorry to say, for staff to be there, but the machine's there. Mobilizing machine that can pick those boulders out safely is going to be thousands of dollars, mob and demob, and time on site, versus it may be sitting there today, it may not be sitting there next week. So just flagging it.
Through the chair, point taken. I'll up our date to visit.
Thanks, Director Jackman. Director Weatherhead, please go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, there's my little hand. I couldn't find it. My question just is around the Community Works funding. I don't think we can do it after the fact, but when is the best time to make sure that Community Works funding is considered for some of these capital projects?
Yes, staff will.
Yeah, I'll try to respond to that. Through the chair, it is best to have at the onset of planning the project. So now would be a time if you have a 2026 project or even 2027. And if you're considering Community Works contributions to the project, ideally quickly, because if there's a clear intent and we know that these types of projects are eligible, then we could still incorporate it into the budget process. But if not, it's non-critical, then just the resolutions read a bit more complex in regards to a financial plan amendment to consider the Community Works. But the earlier, the better for planning purposes and financial plan amendment pieces.
Okay.
Supplemental?
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, the part where you said about adjusting the budget at this point, this is too late of a date, that's what you're saying in that? It would just be too complicated, and I don't want to do that to our staff.
Yeah, it's probably easier to do that after an approved financial plan and make an actual amendment.
Okay,
Because these last minute tweaks to the financial plan aren't really appreciated too much. I mean, I'm not 100% certain at what time we can show it in the financial plan. I'm not sure if the intent alone is enough, or if we actually need approval in order to incorporate it into the financial plan. If it's approval, then you would have to do the approval of the Community Works grant in the same meeting where you approve your draft financial plan in the February meeting.
of course. Thank you so much.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up. So with that in mind, we will move to the next item, which is 6.2. And sorry, I'm just changing it on my screen here. Trying to catch up here. Okay, who's dealing with this?
Through the chair.
Alex, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, this is a summary of the capital projects planned for 2026. Again, I'm not going to go through each line item, but I welcome any questions from the directors.
Well, I'll start with a question. Where's the fund? I didn't see it. Where's the funding coming for each of these projects?
Through the chair, that wasn't detailed, so it's either through reserves, through a combination of reserves and borrowing, or through a combination of reserves, capital works fund, grant funding, and borrowing. But it wasn't detailed.
Supplemental. Just a second. I wrote notes, and I just want to make sure I'm not speaking before something else comes up. Well, I guess this is more edit. It's 6.5. No, I'll wait till 6.5 to talk about it. But it's just the profound potential unfairness to non-RDCK water systems that are in our area, are our residents, and they don't have access to Community Works funds, and yet some people do, and it's made me angry this morning. I became angry thinking about it this morning. Enough editorializing, more about me later. Director Vandenberg.
Thank you, and through the chair. Yeah, that would be interesting to just a comment on the chair's question. It would be of interest to know what portion of those budgets are expected to come through taxation, because I think that's relevant to our conversation. But my question is around, as I reviewed the current status of these projects, I noted that my question would be, is there an expectation of a provision in the budget for asset management costing on these programs, on these projects?
I try to answer these. So first of all, your initial comment about how much is coming from taxation related to water systems. It is almost, with the exception of a small Community Works grants components, you'll see under Ericsson, the Ericsson Universal Metering Phase 2 with 3.2 million, and metering Phase 1 with 300,000. These two are grant funded. Almost the entirety of the other capital projects are funded from user fee and parcel tax charged to water systems. The second question about asset management planning. Each water system budget includes a small line item for asset management planning. It's relatively small, and it in part too because we do have our existing asset management plans for utilities in place. So each water system has its own asset management plan. It is one that is hard to administer and not supported by the original consultant that established it. But that's why we are part of the overall organizational planning for asset management planning and contribute to that through our water system budgets.
Thank you. Supplemental?
Yes, thank you. So what I'm hearing is there is a small provision for asset management to go forward in each of the budgets because as you would read where the water systems are at, it does say that the asset management program is complete. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood if there's any provision in the budget for asset management, it's for ongoing maintenance requirement, and I would have to go back and see how much allocation that would be. So thank you for answering my questions.
And Uli's just going to add a little.
If I can follow up, the vast majority of what we are doing as asset management planning continues to be in the line item environmental services piece because it's done through our existing staff in-house, right? So that's the plans that you'll see, that's the asset management annual contribution numbers that you see in the bottom of your water system budgets. The other line item asset management planning is really for the implementation process of an organization-wide one. It includes a staff member that is leading that, and it will include as well future software purchases to establish one. So there's two parallel processes. Our existing asset management planning is solely embedded in the staff time that Chris and Eileen predominantly, but as well Alex and GIS spend on keeping our mapping up to date and our asset values updated, incorporated lines that have been renewed and replaced, and all of these pieces. So an asset management plan is never finished. It's an ongoing project that you annually renew, refresh, incorporate cost increases or decreases if there are any. So we update information with our contractor cost on a regular basis. We have seen periods where they by far outpaced the inflation rate. Lately, they stabilized, maybe even came down. And we tweak the numbers accordingly year by year to keep these assumptions as fresh and close to reality as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Director Graham.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment through the chair, just with regards to the comment about the unfairness with the community works grants to some residents that are in the water systems. I just want to say that I was actively involved when the Balfour water system was joining the regional district. And prior to joining the regional district, our water bills were like under $300 a year. And after we did join the water system of the regional district, our bills are like $1,200 a year. So that is something, it's one thing, but it's not just community works grants. Part of the reason that we joined in Balfour was there was other grants available through the regional district that were not available to us as the Balfour Irrigation District. So while it is a little unfair that community works grants can be used, it also, like, there's more to consider. And also, I just wanted to say that so that staff knows, especially Chris, when you're out there talking to people, like, there is a real benefit to joining the regional district for the water system. So just wanted to share that experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that comment, because that is really important to understand that the rates of current RCK water systems are generally speaking, a lot higher than outside systems. But that is because we have a long-term sustainable rate. We have asset management planning. We consider what is required in the future. Most other private systems or improvement districts are not there. And that's why we harp on the asset management planning. That's why the community works guidelines and requirements harp on asset management planning. Only if you know your long-term costs can you actually establish long-term sustainable rates. And it is easy to say, I'm paying right now $400, I don't want to pay $1,200. Sooner or later, they will face reality, and hopefully not when it's too late, when the rates become catastrophic because the hole is so deep that you have to dig yourself out from. So that's the difference really between the two. It's the difference between a well-maintained vehicle and a vehicle that was run in the ground and is pretty well worthless.
Yes, thank you. A supplemental, Director Graham? Okay, thank you. Director Papa?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This, on the subject that Director Graham brought up, the biggest problem with area, improvement districts, irrigation districts that are there that are not part of the regional district system, whatever, is they have to bring up their infrastructure to our requirements. And that is a great financial burden that they are unable to cross or get supplement. And I've taken many resolutions to UBCM to get provincial funding to bring them up to standards so they can become part of the regional district service. And I've failed.
So if I may follow up on that.
Sure.
The director previously pointed out with Balfour, there were grants available, but the grants that were available were largely for implementing metering. It was not for the core assets that were there. There was a small component for the reservoir, I believe, too, if I recall right, but largely it was the metering. It helped tremendously for this system, but it is not the regular core infrastructure like lines in the ground, pump station treatment plants, with very few exceptions, that are benefiting from these grants. And the infrastructure replacement that's aggressively happening in Balfour is based on a rate system that's very different than in water systems that often complain about the lack of grant funding. So there's a two-piece element to these. These water systems need to recognize, and there's no exception. There is no water system that can sustain itself at a $400 per year level. That's reality. And you can't sit and continue to charge, and that I'm not trying to broad stroke all water systems. Some are very responsible in how they approach it, but you cannot sit there with a extremely underfunded water system and complain that grants is not going to provide you the sustainability aspect that you need. It needs to go both ways, and that needs to be understood, and the asset management planning piece is the decisive tool to understand that and bring that to the residents in these water systems.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Any other comments on capital? Director Cunningham.
No, if I could, with your permission, Chair, to the Chair, referring to the question about the Balfour system, I seem to recall something about $600 million in improvements that was offered through a grant, and the people turned it down because of the increase. And they were about to lose the grant, except then instead of just doing it by approval, they went to a full vote, and the second time around it was approved. So it was a close call because otherwise the system would have been in dire or whatever. We do have to use our grant, as best we can. But I think as the director from Area H mentioned, that it's important that everything be brought up to date, and of course, it might be costed out properly. And we all get hit with it. I mean, I know, we went from $81 in Weimar to 600 and some odd now. But well, after the whole town froze up way back 1980, the people voted, with one exception, the former owner of the water system who voted against it. Everybody else voted in favor after going 3 months without water. So it's amazing what that kind of thing can do to people and how they can change their mind. And since then, I understand the people of Weimar said, yes, we complain a little, but really we understand. And I like it when that happens, and I think the rest of us, I think we have to promote that. I have, and I'm sorry if I made chair secondary, out of that, it says we require other systems to come up to date before we take them on. I wondered could we possibly put them on a finance plan? You know what I mean? Because they don't have the money. And we say, well, listen, this is what it's gonna cost to bring you up to date. We can take you on, but you should understand that, okay? The work will be financed at so many dollars per year. And, again, full take on will happen, you know. And that way we could use tax money as well, because otherwise they're, and grant money and things to help bring them up to date. I don't know if that's a plausible system or not.
If I may?
Yeah.
Or unless we are.
Well, this will be the last on this, and it's tangential, but I opened the door, so the chair can't say to someone, hey, you're, so go ahead, Willie.
So if we have an applicant system that goes through the acquisition process and decides to want to join the regional district, yes, absolutely. The loan system is available. Financing through the municipal financing authority is possible. It will be broadly and, it will be intensely discussed what the rate structure needs to look like in order to make that sustainable. Absolutely. But the idea that grants are widely available is erroneous. And we made that clear in the last meeting we had with with the Robson Raspberry.
Yeah.
Is clear. If you decide to join the regional district, don't make a potential grant the decision maker for it. The chance that we with 20 or almost 20 water systems get grants for each water system is nil. That means there will be select systems that are lucky that are part of a grant application, but it is not generally speaking there, with the exception of the community works component. But senior federal government grants are rare, and we have only a few systems so far that benefited from senior government grants. I can count them on one hand.
All right, let's not belabor it. The chair apologizes to everyone for opening that can of worms before we moved on to item 6.5. So with that, and supplemental, Director Cunningham?
No, as
You were just suggesting funding to help them.
And actually, if I may, thank you. Weimar chance for 40 years, 1980s, when we got a grant from the federal government twice. First to change the basing part of the old system, and later on to put in the water treatment plant, things like that. We got grants for those, and we were very lucky. Our turn is up, and now we have to fund ourselves, and we have been for the last 20 odd years or whatever. And I think everybody else may get their turn, but I think what was said would be absolutely correct. You know, there's so many systems, we can't expect to get a grant again. So we've got to fund ourselves, and that's of course is where the asset management system comes in.
Thank you. Moving on to the water quality report for information. Any questions to staff? Seeing none. Then we'll move on to a verbal report update on the water system expressions of interest. So Chris, an update.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you. So currently we've got two water systems that have submitted expressions of interest. Of course, Robson Raspberry Improvement District, and we've got Tagum Improvement District as well. We had a meeting, public meeting that was well attended, packed house at the Robson Community Hall for the Robson Raspberry meeting, and guests about 120 people. At that meeting, it seemed like a very informed group of water users for the RRID, and also a very dedicated trustee team putting this all together and working with the RDCK staff. Certainly answered a lot of questions at that meeting. The RRID has posted all the information that we presented along with the meeting minutes on their website. There's actually a news article out in the Castlegar News. It's quite representative of what actually went on there. Generally good feedback, lots of questions at that meeting. We went full time, maybe a little bit over at the meeting as well. And I've also fielded some requests for information following the meeting. The next step for RRID is to show that there's support from their users. So if you'll bring yourselves back to the water and wastewater acquisition plan, we're looking for a 2/3 respondent show of support vote, so to speak. It's not a formal vote, but probably similar to an informal ballot measure where there's a mail out with a question, as a water user for RRID, do you support proceeding with the expression of interest and exploring being acquired by the RDCK. It was also made clear to everybody at that meeting that, that won't be the final say that you get. Of course, a vote, a formal vote would only happen after, we moved down the process and we presented information, including bylaws and draft asset management plans and rates to those users. Tagum Improvement District is a little earlier in the process. Last time I spoke with them, they are looking to select a communications lead, so one person from their board to really negotiate and move forward with the process with our DCK staff. And once we have that in place, we're expecting a public meeting with them probably in the next couple of months.
Okay, well, let's see what questions come your way. So let's begin with Henny, Director Hanegraaff. And then just so you know, we've got Director Vandenberg and Director Pawpaw.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that the meeting on, I think it was January 14th, was indeed very well attended. The information presented by the RDCK staff was excellent. It was clear, you answered every question. I learned a lot, and I think I will say that the engineer's report that was also presented there was a really good argument for asset management, because it became very clear that the system, it's that thing people do when they're a volunteer board and living in the community and trying to keep the costs down, and they sort of think we'll limp along and it'll be okay until the situation becomes a bit dire. So I look forward to seeing what happens with the next step. The feedback I've gotten just from people that were at the meeting that I've seen in the community is most people seem to think that moving to the RDCK is a sensible thing to do, and the best solution for Robson Raspberry, in that what they need is consistent water supply, which is what they haven't had. They've been on and off boil water for, I don't know, as long as I've lived here, so 20 years or so. So there's that, and there was something else I wanted to say and I forgot what it was, but I suspect that this will go forward. I think a lot of the people in the room were actually surprised to learn that it was the RRID that approached the RDCK, not the other way around. People have this weird idea that the RDCK is hunting down water systems that they want to bring into the tent, which really isn't the case. So it's been interesting. I look forward to the next steps, and I really sincerely thank the staff for the work they've done.
Before I go to Director Vandenberg, how did an engineering report become created? In other words, who funded it?
So-
Who,
Through grant funding that I approved.
by the improvement district?
Yeah, I approved grant funding to the improvement district. First, for the asset, they needed to know where their system was at, whether they moved to us or stay as they are. They needed to know. So for the good of the community and those residents, that asset management needed to happen. So there was grant funding for that. And then in order to have the engineers at the meeting with a report to present and answer questions, a second grant was given to ensure that that would, and I think it was important. It needed to happen. People needed to understand, and those engineers needed to be able, you can't ask a group of volunteers to put together an engineering report and ask questions at a meeting. So we had the professionals in on that piece too, the same people that conducted the review of the system were the ones that presented at the meeting. And it was expensive. But I think in order for people to make an informed decision, they have to have all of the information presented properly, and that's what happened.
Yes, go ahead.
If I may add to that, and I think this is a model that we should have discussions with UBCM about, where we should create policy around as an organization where we are intent and that our, meaning regional district strategic plan, works on enabling systems to understand where they need to go. And that based on that strategic plan, we then can prioritize community works for these specific needs. Asset management planning as a first step for a system to understand what they are lacking and what their urgent items are that they need to address. So I think that is something we should try to consider, creating required policy around that supports and meets the requirement that UBCM has for community works funding, and that then establish the critical piece on the requirement for community works grants is establishes why we are not prioritizing, but equally treating external water system as we do internal. So I think that's something we need to do more work on. I'm not a proponent of saying community work should be internally only. I think as it relates to water systems, we should develop supporting strategy, and hopefully UBCM agrees to that.
Hey, so what I said earlier, it comes full circle. In other words, that's what I was talking about earlier, was the lack of access to community works. So can you at the senior management level, like, is that on your thing to bring to us so we can start this 2-year process of being able to, like, what will we need to actually move that idea, which I think is brilliant? In other words, a board thing that says we are committed to this.
Yeah, I think we need that strategic plan. So that's a discussion that we as staff will have, that we will have with Mike as well. and having the discussion with UBCM. I mean, we don't want to spend tons and tons of time on a strategic plan if they say in the end, the clause about prioritizing external over internal brings that all to fall. So there's a bit more work and discussion we need to have going forward. But that would be my approach to supporting external systems.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Kelly, please, Director Vandenberg, please go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. So this is good conversation. It leads into much of what I'm interested in talking about. That is, we've discovered kind of what the UBCM policy is, and I'm speaking to the ability to support non-acquisition systems with Community Works, and how that happens, what the procedure is, how you get involved, how do you identify them as a capital project, which is what I heard verbiage the last time we talked about UBCM. In the case in point, Wendell Irrigation District is project ready. They have some engineering, they have an asset, a newly in played asset management program, and they have a replacement project that they would like to pursue. Currently, they have about 325 users. Wendell Irrigation District is kind of a standalone. I pointed out this is a non-acquisition. The more that we can support them, the better that they have standing alone and not being a burden to RDCK. So once again, I'll rephrase, what is the procedure and process for them who have done their diligence and their homework to get on a list to be supported because they can't get access to this grant funding. So that's my main question.
Kelly,
Also,
Director Vandenberg, I'm going to ask that you set up a meeting offline with Mike and Uli because they can't. That's what Mike told us at the board meeting. So they can't. But the 7 steps Mike outlined in the board report, I think it would be very valuable because that's a great example of what I was referring to. But I think we need to take that offline if you don't mind, because it's too complex for this meeting and it's a bit of a tangential topic. If the board
and through the chair, happy to do that for sure. But I did understand that there is a possibility. So there's a little bit of confusion in
there is
what's the opportunity. Well, I apologize, and I will be happy to take it offline.
No, I apologize, but
So
yeah,
if I
but
may,
Uli's gonna just add a bit too, Kelly.
there is
Dr.
no
Vandenberg.
immediate possibility to meet the requirements that UBCM has set out for external projects. But what I was trying to mention was that we need to see if we are able to establish a framework that meets the requirement that UBCM has set out. Part of that is setting clear boundaries, what a funding would entail, establishing a strategic plan that supports and outlines why the regional district is supporting specific external services. Because you don't want to start saying we support water systems, next is trails, next is community halls, next is, right? So we will need a clear framework what UBCM can agree to and that we can establish in a very specific strategic document that would fulfill what UBCM sees as minimum requirements to agree to external grant funding. So that's what I'm hoping to work on over the next months. That's not something we will have ready in a week or a month or even 2 months.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I can comply to that, absolutely will, and I will be. The other opportunity that I have to ask Chris is to speak to Alice Siding. He has visited with Alice Siding, and I guess I'm really interested to know if there was a kind of an action framework proposed in those discussions with that group who are seeking methodology in obtaining getting water system. And yeah, so Chris, did you provide any advice in that regard for that group at Alice Siding is my other question.
Yeah, through the chair, Director Vandenberg, certainly met with Alice Siding representatives and, got up to speed on their issues, predicaments, and also the complexities, I guess, associated with providing them water. I think we've looked at this in the past via an engineering report. Like we rely on the town of Creston supply being available to them if they're for municipal water. So what has been offered is, of course, ongoing administrative support from our end, from the staff side on any measures that they want to push forward. I think that's about all that we can do.
Yeah, I knew Leo just
Just a question for clarification. When we talk Alice Siding, are we talking about the existing Alice Siding that is supplied through the Arrow Creek water system? Or are we talking about the larger expansion almost up to the Windle Irrigation District boundaries?
The larger expansion.
Okay, so because they're two different things.
Mhm.
Alice Siding is my understanding is the name of the current water system that is already being supplied through Arrow Creek.
That's Meladane.
That's valid.
That's Meladane? Okay.
great. And of course, with everything, we can always go offline with staff. Walter, Director Popoff is next, and then Director Jackman, I see your hand there. Walter, Director Popoff, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Director Vandenberg basically covered what I was gonna talk about, other systems, whatever, Windows not the only one. There are other improvement districts, irrigation districts in all different areas within the regional district of Central Kootenai. And I understand Manager Wolf is gonna look at establishing more or less like a procedure that we can follow.
Not a procedure,
Or-
I think one of the requirements under community works, sorry, through the chair, one of the requirements under the community works requirements is that the regional district has a strategic plan that outlines why the support of a certain activity is important and how it fits into the overall strategy that the regional district has. So that would be the first strategic document that would need to be in place, be accepted by UVCM as a basis to saying, yes, that is enough of a document to provide good reasons why the regional district is willing to fund externally. And then we still have to deal with the issue about prioritizing external grants over internal. So that's a bit of an interpretation question. What we don't want to get into it, that is that a residence in a current RDCK water system is able to challenge us on providing money to an external system while that specific water system didn't get everything they wanted, right? So we need to create that framework that makes us not vulnerable to a claim like that.
Yeah, and Chair, if I may, that wasn't the question that I was going to ask. So it was just a follow-up on what Director Vandenberg had. But what I'm looking at is specifically the Robson, and I heard Director Hanegraaff mention that she provided grants. And right now, I'm working with one improvement district. It is an infrastructure planning grant. That's what's available. And the director has to, either director supports or they got to provide the initial $5,000. And the other community works is not available to us. So the only other grant was community development grant. And was that the grant that was used to get the engineering report, etc.?
For
Robson Master?
Yes.
was community works.
I thought it was community, I'm just looking to try and.
I'm fairly certain that was before we had the stringent
Restrict.
requirements. I'm fairly certain there was $50,000 or
I thought it
so.
was Community Works.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it was around
About before.
53 or something for that, and then another 13 for the report and presentation, which was, I think I used discretionary grant for
That
that.
may have been a mix, you're right.
Yes.
But the primary report from Community Works, which is not available.
And just to be clear, prior to these latest requirements under Community Works from UBCN, we have done that multiple times. We have enabled multiple times water systems with Community Works grants to do asset management planning. And I believe Director Vandenberg, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we did that in Windell as well with Community Works, or Director Jackman. So that was common practice that we did support asset management planning from Community Works until the new requirements came into place.
Yeah, thank you. So an infrastructure planning grant that used to be available from the province is no longer available because of their financial difficulties that they're having currently.
It's still available.
The last response was, no, it's not. And that was an application the Cristobal Improvement District put in for the infrastructure planning grant, and they denied that because their budget did not allow for it currently. It's not that they're going to discontinue it. It's they'll have to massage their budget until it can be available again. So would that be sufficient to the regional district to start with? It's not really asset management plan, but it's basically what upgrades are required to bring the system up to RDCK standards.
Sorry, you're asking if we have other funding tools
No.
that could replace the infrastructure planning grant?
No, what I'm asking is if an irrigation or improvement district does have infrastructure planning, whether through grant or through director funded infrastructure planning, is that acceptable to start the process with the regional district that requires an asset management plan?
Asset management planning is a requirement for within the acquisition process, yes. And that's typically the first step we point towards before they even submit an application. We are very supportive in providing information, in some cases even technical advice, what specifications for an asset management planning should be. But as you see, I mean, it's a larger system, but as you see in Robson Raspberry, we are talking close to $70,000, and that was not a fully complete report yet. So $5,000 or $10,000 is very likely not cutting it, even if it's a small system. So that is the other piece that these water systems need to be aware of.
So in addition to the infrastructure planning grant that does look at the infrastructure, what's required to upgrade, they would have to have an asset management fund, is that correct?
The infrastructure planning grant typically paid for a component of asset management planning. That's most commonly, and that's why I was surprised, because we just paid out $10,000 in grant to one of the applicants. So the recent information must be very recent, that they no longer accept applications.
That was within the last month or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just, before I go to Director Jackman, we're just gonna tie up one loose end and then carry on. Director Henderson.
It was a $51,000 Community Works grant that was granted in 2024, so before the change happened.
Thank you. Director Jackman.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's been stated, we're not going to solve stuff today and come up with stuff, but I see two lines of action evolving here, and I want to make sure the committee's sure as to what direction they want to go, what they want to support. So this window thing, my experience with it is 2005 as an alternate director. So it's 20 years back. The whole deal, 21, the whole deal we are facing now is we have to have a strategy, as Uli said, and we have to prioritize. So there's two things. Either we can support that quite a bit of focus be put on Windle as sort of the test case. We can't think of Windle as the goal, Windle Irrigation District getting more access to money. But what do we have to do so that everybody has a 6-page summary? Here's the steps you got to go through under today's rules. Today you got to do this, this, and this. So, or we can just say, you know, Windle isn't a new thing. And so staff should concentrate on just simply coming back to us next time with saying, generically, here are the things you have to do, the boxes you have to tick, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Strategy, that should be simple. That we would agree with Interior Health and all of our systems are trying to meet certain standards. And we have been supporting all other systems within our region to some extent. I mean, we're transferred in 2025, $54,000 from rural admin to environmental services. And part of that is to have these conversations with the Windle Irrigations or the Crestovas or the whoever's. So we have had a strategy in place. We just need to summarize it and have a clean, clear way to articulate that to UBCM, saying we've never digressed from the approach that people are people and we want to help them all. Now that comes to prioritization, and it really galls me. This came up again last night at Riendell. I said, you guys have been favored with more grants than others. And there was a sense of entitlement. Oh, well, we were eligible, so what? You're people. So these people are more eligible than those people. That is a flawed, fundamentally unfair, unacceptable system. People are people. We earn gas tax funding based on people. The people in Windle are no less deserving than the people anywhere else. So we have a very clear universal approach we need to take here. Our strategy has never wavered. Our staff have relentlessly tried to support the small systems because we recognize them as our constituents, and that's important. It's always been our strategy. Listen to us, accept it. Second, prioritizing some people over others. The only excuse you could have is to say forcing them to be RD systems versus their current potentially effective management and maintenance structure is a little bit of an analysis, case by case, says, does this make sense from a cost perspective for those residents? Pretty easy to do, I think, in the case of some like Windle Irrigation. But staff have to put all the factors on the table. When Windle was looking at getting money for the reservoir, they were told, well, they have to put their homes, the directors, the board members' homes as security against a loan to borrow to build the reservoir. And they were shocked. And some of those people, well, at least one of them is no longer with us, but some of those people aren't on the board at all. They've had big changeovers. We have the huge advantage of borrowing power. So again, this is universal, that we need to state all of these points. Why would we see there would be a purpose or an excuse or rationalization, justification to prioritize people as us versus them? Can't be the fact that, oh, you're in or out of the system. It has to be a clear financial advantage for those people based on borrowing, based on staff, based on testing equipment, the flooding we had in Windle over Christmas to New Year's. I tried to get our testing equipment out there. Alex was quite responsive, but wow, it's Christmas. We can't do what they would like us to help them with. We need to just write this down, 6 pages, universally. Here's our strategy, been in place forever. Here are the clear advantages of being a regional district system. Here are the overhead costs you might see as a disadvantage. So do you want us to start with Windle, everybody? Or do you want staff to come up with a 6-page document, and then we'll take that to Windle and say, this applies to everybody, so let's sit down. And it would be Director Vandenberg and myself. What way do we want to go here? Once budget is done, what way do we want to go here?
Oh, sorry, was that directed
Yeah,
towards
no.
our staff? Or
It's
towards
to my
the-
peers, Chair. It's to my peers to think
Yeah,
about when we
and I-
start asking staff to do things on their work plan that may or may not be the most effective way to get from A to B. I fully support Windle getting a better kick at the can for money, but we got to be strategic in how we approach this. And so Windle could be the
Well,
ultimate case study, or we could be generic and then go to Windle with that generic plan.
well, I thought, so here's the chair, because it kind of ends up at the chair. I thought that what General Manager Wolf, what Uli said in regard to a board, it needs to be a board strategy. We can't go anywhere until we as a board say this is a thing and this is why we're actually allowing this, and not over, but in conjunction with RDCK owned assets. So I hear what you're saying, Director Jackman, but I think we can't even say, let's do Windle until the board decides whether the board wants to even go down this path. I don't think we should not waste energy, but put energy into anything until the board says, okay, let's see if we can convince you, the UBCM, that this is valid for this reason. If not, it's just no grants. So that's why I turned to
No,
you.
I totally agree, and so I think the strategy needs to come first and clearly outline what, because it is not only water systems. Internally, you have communities, services, facilities, ice surfaces, you name it. Ultimately, you will have to put a strategy as a regional district out and say which services first. Which services are most important and most critical? Is it fire? Is it emergency services? Is it community services, water services, resource recovery? You have so many services that you pretty well have to prioritize because you won't have community works funds to help everyone. So that is where the strategy comes into place. And that's where the prioritization piece comes into place. And the strategy needs to answer why are we doing what and not the other.
Okay, let's not repeat it. Thank you. And the reason we said water was because everyone drinks water. So that becomes pretty easy. Not everyone goes for a hike. Director Vandenberg for the second time, then we will, I think, be done with this and then we'll take a quick break so people can get a coffee or whatever. Director Vandenberg, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Yeah, I don't expect that we're going to have any resolution today. Certainly, it's well illustrated that we have opportunities and challenges ahead of us. I just want to reiterate Uli's suggestion, or actually the chair's suggestion, that we take this offline. Fully prepared to do that and looking forward to doing it. Uli, you already got an email from me on this, so I will be wrapping in Director Jackman as well. And let's have a good conversation around this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much, Uli. In closing,
And Chris and I will discuss to establish a quarterly reporting item that sets the framework, what we are working on, and that you then can comment if it meets what you would like us to work on. So in regards to creating a draft strategic document that we will bring back to this group with timelines associated.
great, thanks. That was pretty awesome. I hope everyone listening online, the public, hears how much we really are trying to support our people in one of the crucial issues we're all facing, which is water supply. So is it okay if we take a 10-minute break and get a coffee, relax, chill out, and then we'll be back at about 20 after. Thank you.
You should have given Director Cunningham more notice to make another pot of coffee.
Oh.
So if you got the water by the time you come back.
Someone
Not bad. 10:20, we're here. Welcome everyone back. Can you hear us? Any thumbs up and that kind of thing? Good, thank you. Excellent. Well, let's carry on to 6.5. And sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up here. Just give me a second. For information, anything you'd like to summarize, Chris?
Through the chair, again, this report is for information. It provides a bit of the grant, story, I guess, of our RBCK water services, from both the senior government grant side and the community works side. Gives you an assessment of, the total dollar amount that we've applied for, around $41 million, in senior government grants. We've been successful in 15.6 of that. So, of course, very thankful for it. It's still a 38% average. So, as General Manager Wolf and the directors around the table pointed out, relying on grants as a sustainable source of funding for water systems, especially for the infrastructure that we need to replace, which is often left out of the grant eligibility. Pipes in the ground, the unseen portions of water systems that are really some of the drivers here are what we're not getting grant funding for. Certainly able to answer any questions on the report, provide any more feedback or information to you.
Great. Well, I see Director Jackman's hand up, and before I go to you, Director Jackman, I just wanted to clarify, Chris, on table number 3, Community Works Grant Summary. No, it's okay. No, I just reread the title and it answered my question. Director Jackman, go ahead, please.
You did that on purpose, Chair. I went to look at table 3 and I couldn't change screens. So, because I thought, no, I'm on table 1. Maybe a correction. The Weimar 643,000. Weimar didn't use or need all that money, and I believe we redirected almost half and half, or 2/3, 1/3, onto South Slope Can. I think Director Popoff would confirm, and then Riendell Water Treatment Plant. So that grant was shared 3 ways because it was more money than needed, and I think we got the permission to redirect it to those 2 other projects, which also received additional funding under whatever tables 2 and 3. So because you've captured it so well, I think it'd be worth showing that redirection. The other thing, showing back in that stream of money or that table, Arrow got half the money almost. Mainline replacement, I don't feel bad about that. I mean, how many 5,000 plus people in Creston and others being served by that? And that's also the legacy of the province saying, we're seizing your water system, spending umpteen million, telling you this is the way it's done, and then throwing it back in your lap. Whereas they upgraded the water treatment plant and left a leaky pipe where a lot of that very expensive treated water just went into the hillside. So for the history of people, Arrow got that money under exceptional circumstances. Maybe the province should have fixed the pipe first and worried about the expensive water treatment second. Anyway, but if you adjusted table 1 or looked into it, Director Cunningham would have the details, or if not, I know where to find them.
Certainly, through the chair, I'll look back at the Community Works database that I pulled the information from, and also reach out to the directors for clarity there. Yeah.
That's my question, I guess that's.
Uli?
Sure. Okay, thank you. If I may, Chair.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With regards to clarification on that grant, it was thought at first that the water treatment plant would cost about $800,000. That was a rough estimate, and we always estimate on the high side when we apply for grants, and we have the paperwork to back it up and engineering work to back it up. As it turned out, it was only about $600,000 to finish, and because the money was left over, we asked permission from the province and the feds that we could use that money to go to South Slope Dam, and that's where it went. because they were in dire straits and they needed their assistance. That's it, sure.
May I, so we are referring to table one. Table one identifies in 2017 the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund of $643,000. That is actually not the funding that the directors are referring to. The original funding for the treatment plant was in 2008-ish. That was shared between South Slocan and Weimar. The 2017 is Community Works funds that the director provided for the reservoir replacement.
Reservoir funds at the level.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyway, close enough, and make sure everything's right, and directors can go through it and double check it.
And if I may, Chair.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is totally off the topic, but because of our association and membership with FCM and UBCM, and then working on the executives there, we sometimes get a lead on to what's happening, and it helps us be more successful when we apply for grants. And when we talk about paying for membership to FCM, I say, well, kids, I'm costing you guys so many thousands per year in my letters to the people, but this is what we got out of it with regards to our water system and so forth. So here's where we are. I'm here 40 years, and you're lucky, I got you guys several $1 million, I think, for the water system over those years.
Absolutely. Editorial comment. Accepted.
Thank you for allowing me to get
Not at all. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Any other, we're on 6.5, and I just wonder if anyone else, it's very good information. Thanks very much for this. Very helpful. And that's what started my rant earlier, was seeing these grants, so they got us off track and what have you, but we're back on track now. Roger, Director Tierney, I see a hand there. Please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I was basically jumped the gun here for 6.6.
Okay, let's do 6.6. Why don't you say something first, and then we'll see what staff have to say. Why don't you take it away, Director Tierney?
Really? Okay. Well.
Yeah, no.
So I'd rather hear from staff first, but I just wanted to.
Let's go to the staff report first, then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Please, staff. I guess Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, this report is presented to the Water Services Committee to again seek some direction on advancing this feasibility assessment a little bit further. There's a small number of parcels. We've got 6 customers that's included in the report that are serviced via a pipe bridge over the Goat River. So pipe bridge and the pipe supported on the bridge are aging. Alex has identified capital works on that section of pipe within the 5-year capital budget. However, when we look at our system as a whole, we have to take a step back and look at potential alternate servicing options. Director Tierney reached out to me a few weeks ago, bringing up the idea that there may be a potential servicing option that would see those properties serviced through the North Canyon Improvement District, as they've got their distribution system within the vicinity of the parcels that are currently serviced by the Erickson system. Worthy of a study, of course, when we look at a large scale of infrastructure that is a legacy infrastructure. The purpose of that piping in the bridge wasn't only to service those small number of properties. It was also to provide water to the Erickson system through Sullivan Creek. There's also an intake and some very rudimentary treatment infrastructure that is no longer approved by HIH or meeting the treatment needs for that. So essentially, we've got potentially some unused or underutilized infrastructure of high value, high replacement value, near end of life. So again, this report is just a very high level look at what's in the ground, what condition it's in, and would it be feasible potentially to move forward with staff undertaking some work to investigate an alternate servicing structure. So.
Chair?
Well, go ahead, Director Cunningham, then Director Tierney. Director Cunningham.
Thank you. It's an interest, I'm familiar with the system because it's been there like forever. And, but I'm curious, with regards to the bridge itself, I guess we have to have it tested. It's pretty old.
Through the chair, it's been tested. I believe that there was refer to it in a report. I think it was a 2020.
Yeah.
CWMM engineering report where they do a load analysis on the bridge. Again, I mean, generally that report found that the pipe bridge is in generally good condition. There are some items that require attention. It is an aging piece of infrastructure that will require some intervention. There's some corrosion, there's some issues with it that are going to impact its lifespan and its ability to service the infrastructure that it currently holds. Again, yeah, and we are looking at fixing that section of pipe, and we've also had a pipe break just before the bridge on the other side of the Crescent Set.
The more immediate issue through the chair is that it is holding a C pipe, and that would be
I'm aware of that.
would need to be replaced. And before we go there, we should know, is this the servicing model we continue to, or is there cost savings on both sides if we make modifications? And that's what this feasibility assessment would determine.
Thank you. Supplementary, Chair.
Yeah.
I would go wrong when those various areas were arguing with each other rather than trying to work together. And it was, things that didn't get done in the right order, especially the big concrete pipe going into Crescent, as the director mentioned, and things like that. There were a lot of things that were done that were not really in the best long-term interest, only in the best short-term interest of the industry. And in the long-term interest, no, it should have been designed as a whole valley-wide system, I believe, and serviced that way. But that's my personal thing, and I'm not a resident, so I'm not going to comment further. But it's got a long-term history, and I'm glad to see that there. I hope it works out. And it's gonna cost more, no matter what you do now.
Director Tierney.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to commend staff on the work done so far and just getting on this so quickly. This was sort of identified at a community advisory committee meeting as the infrastructure to get to these 6 houses is quite extensive. The distribution line is like 65 years old and poor quality. North Canyon Improvement District doesn't really need to do this. They've got distribution lines going down the Webster Road quite a ways. It terminates before these 6 houses, and their system's running really well, and it's affordable. So, we would have to have buy-in from the North Canyon Improvement District to take this on, and in there lies the challenge. I think if they would take it on, if they had the capacity to take it on, stands to save the Erickson water system ratepayers a tremendous amount of money going down the road. And so I totally support the recommendation that staff's making here, and look forward to further discussions between the staff and North Canyon Improvement District to see if there's any way to help us out. I say it's helping us out. it's not really helping them out, other than adding 6 more properties to their system, which, you know, they're charging about $1,000 a year. So that adds to their funds. But yeah, and I guess the final thing is if staff can work it out, and North Canyon agrees, I would be definitely willing to put Community Works funds towards the savings that Erickson is going to make here. So thank you.
Any comment on that? Well, yeah, no, I see Director Vandenberg, but like, this doesn't say where the money would come from. So maybe before I go to Director Vandenberg, I'd just ask for a bit of clarification
Yeah,
there.
through the chair, I believe I've identified that we complete work in-house. This is a feasibility assessment, it's a high level feasibility assessment, bit of a master planning approach to how we operate the system. We've certainly got costs for the assets in place. So I think this is a perfect exercise for staff to do in-house at a high level, identifying, of course, the limits of what that analysis provides, you know, typical Class C cost estimate. So, you know, quite a bit of variability there. But yeah, this would be handled by existing budgets and in-house staff.
Thank you. Director Vandenberg.
Great, thank you, and through the chair. So I know that Director Tierney knows that area quite well. My question is around the report and its comments on alternative servicing and then being supported by the business case and feasibility. So with the lack of, or the amount of knowledge that I'm aware of it, the section of piping that is related to the bridge, is this alternative servicing, could that identify not having to replace that piping on that bridge? Okay, so I'm seeing a nod. Okay, so then I would then say that the feasibility is, because if it was just a matter of that pipe's got to be replaced, then we should just get costing to replace the pipe. But if there's an alternative here, which is I see a nod from Director Tierney, that was the point of my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, we've explored all of the questions people might have. We do not have a motion on the floor as yet. Director Tierney, would you like to move a recommendation?
Yes, I would. I'd like to move the staff recommendation. Also want to just clarify for the members of this committee, Kelly.
Could you just give us a second? So this is option number 2, and it is seconded by Director Vandenberg. Perfect. So please go ahead, Director Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this would basically eliminate the part of the distribution line on the west side of the river that comes down to that bridge structure. It would eliminate the bridge structure, all the piping there, and would eliminate, I believe, did you put it in the report, Chris, about 600 meters of 65-year-old pipe that we would not have to replace in the future. So it's eliminating a lot of distribution line, including that bridge. And what needs to be done is to make it work, the North Canyon Improvement District's distribution line comes about 600 meters or more down the road, and it terminates approximately, is it 600 meters, Chris, before it gets to these 6 houses?
Yeah, through the chair and speaking with a representative from North Canyon, we believe that their end of line is around 375 meters.
375, thank you.
Away from ours, again, that needs to be confirmed. So that'll be some of the work that we do if we get approved.
Just, I'd like Uli to make a comment as well.
Yeah, and it is not only going to be the technical feasibility. Something like this would require an amendment to the service area, so it would need public and ministerial approval likely, so the residents there would have to likely support this. So it is all about being able to make a win-win out of it in order to drive this forward, and that's what the feasibility study will further look into.
Which that's why I was asking about the funding, because it looked like it was fairly, not just like a little feasibility study and doing it in-house. And yet it's one, anyway, we can accommodate it within some fund that is a general fund that is not just directly applicable to our water system.
It's the service A103 and the staffing that is paid under A103 that all water services contribute to.
Thank you very much. Now I forgot where I was at because I'm too busy asking questions. We've got a motion on the floor, moved and seconded and spoken to by the mover, supporting it strongly. Is there any further comments on the recommendation? Director Tierney, is that you wanting to?
Yes,
say something
thank you,
else?
Chair. Just if there are costs incurred by the RDCK to make this happen, that's the point I was trying to make earlier is I would be willing to cover those costs with hopefully community work funds if that was necessary. Yeah.
We've got it. We're recording this, right? Sorry, I was just getting your confirmation on the record.
Feasibility studies generally are not eligible.
It's not available.
So we would need to be specific external items that we can review if there is something, but right now this is an internal feasibility studies. There may be follow-up steps and that we then require funding for, but right now this is
Great.
Internal study only.
Great, thanks very much for that clarification, confirmation, etc. We have another speaker. Director Graham, please go ahead.
Thank you. So through the chair, so staff time is not free. So I'm just wondering, what costs are we looking at? And I am assuming that Community Works this project is not eligible for Community Works. So what costs are we looking at, just so that we're clear?
The cost is at this point solely staff time that's embedded in service A103 and part of the environmental service fee charges to all water systems. To some degree, you could potentially consider it as well funded through the rural administration funds that are supplied for external water services support. So it is in the budget as staff time, and like we do with so many projects that sometimes straddle the a fine line between this is our normal business and this is developmental and feasibility oriented. We do that frequently. We do that as well when we get inquiries from developments that become more problematic, that we spend a lot of staff time on. I would see it in that category of sometimes you just invest a lot of staff time to resolve certain issues, and I would see it as one of these items.
Thank you.
So supplemental?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So what would your estimate be in terms of how much staff time? Like for one person, two people, like a week, 2 weeks, a month? Like, I'm just trying to get some kind of idea of how big this project really is.
Yeah, through the chair, this is a desktop study, essentially. Probably will make a visit to the site to just kind of see the lay of the land. I'd imagine 25 hours of time, 30 hours, maybe a week of time, probably dedicated to this. I've already compiled a lot of the information that I think I need again to do that desktop high level analysis, and then coming up with a list of next steps as well as some business case costing to again, get that high level assessment of is it worth it for us to continue studying. So I mean, the plan is to do, kind of a capped amount of time, spend a capped amount of time on this and come back to the Water Services Committee, with that information, looking for, direction, to proceed.
Supplemental, Director Graham, or?
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to summarize what I think I heard. So what
Yes.
you're asking, what the ask is for one staff member for 25 hours or 30 hours, say, tops of time, and a site visit. That's what we're being asked for here, correct?
Through the chair, that's what I imagine. Like I said, I
Okay.
do have a lot of the information already in hand, to,
Okay.
build this report. So,
I'm going to count.
are you gonna count it? I'll count it too. Yeah.
Thank you. So we know where the funds are coming from. We know the idea. It's supported by the director, moved by the director. Any further discussion before I call the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of the recommendation? Is there any opposition? Seeing none, is your hand up, Director? I'll call that motion successful. It passed. Director Weatherhead, do you have a comment? Your hand is up, that's all. Could you take your hand down because it confuses the chair? In the third person. Okay, we've got the draft financial plan review for all of the all of the different services under item 7.1, etc. And I'm sure any director that had a question has already contacted staff to say what's going on there or raised it at the community meetings, but without restricting discussion. The chair was not trying to lead people on to say you couldn't ask a question. I'll say, are there any questions before? Is it all motions? Just a sec here. We have to do all the motions separately or? No, it's for information. Director Jackman.
Thank you. So Riandel Drainage S 165. There's a $1,000 allocation for the tax bylaw assent process. I just wanted clarity again. That sounds like it's only a petition process. Would there be a public meeting attached to that? And the timeline. The reason I ask about a public meeting, I know it's not always the thing to be done, but there've been a lot of experts walking around with their expert opinions of what's what and who's responsible for what, and including at last night's commission meeting where there was a delegation from somebody who was talking about the legal obligations of the regional district to do this, that, and the next thing. So do we have a public meeting attached to that assent process, and are we contemplating $1,000 to do a mail out petition, or could we actually hold a vote for those 200 and some residents?
Let's go ahead, please.
Yeah, through the chair, in the interest of containing costs in the budget, we reduced that to an initial $5,000 that was dedicated to a potential assess process. Based on information that we've received from staff at the RDCK, we're familiar with the process. Tom Dool provided us with some updated information on potentially moving forward with that necessary parcel tax increase that would not require a public assent and not require that more significant cash outlay to fund that. So to answer your question directly, that $1,000 that is in there is generally dedicated to likely a public meeting, as well as any other information that we have to put out regarding the drainage system.
And
Yeah, Uli's got a comment.
and it would be based on ministerial approval only, the changes that are required in the bylaw.
Supplemental?
Yeah, so then, yeah, because there's a big difference between $5,000 to hold a vote or 1,000. So public meeting, great, I appreciate that. And your anticipation as the minister will say, we can go ahead and double the taxation without public assent?
That's,
Yeah.
that's what it's currently assumed, so that's where based on the dollar amount and the
Length of time.
life cycle analysis and the a solid rationale behind it, staff felt that we may be able to get ministerial approval only and not require a full-blown assent process.
Interesting. Careful what you ask for. The public asked by petition for this unique service to exist, and now we're going to double it without asking them again.
Sorry,
To be continued. Thanks.
we are going to have a public meeting, and if this is highly disputed, and that public meeting, likely, as you are aware, Director, will have a lot of discussion what this service actually should be. And it very well may end up that there is a lot of discussion and dispute about this, and that we decided it's better to go to spend the $5,000 for a formal assent process. So it's all open, but at this time we make the assumption that the residents agree that we don't have an option and that the ministerial approval suffice for that. But like I said, if the public meeting has a complete different tenor to that, we might as well say, yeah, we up the budget and do a formal assent process.
Thank you. I have two speakers, Director Graham and Director Weatherhead. Director Graham, please go ahead.
Thank you through the chair, and just for the benefit of the public who might be online here, we will be going back to the Grandview Water service. It's a small service. We will be going back with some additional information on their budget, which will be actually the taxation increases will be higher than what were discussed at the meeting. So we've talked with staff, and staff is going to be sending an email out explaining the reasons why, which we've already gone over. And then we will give them the option to have another community advisory committee meeting if needed. So I just wanted to make that sort of known to the public and the committee that this Grandview Water System notes this one's not finalized. We're still working on that one. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that update. Director Weatherhead.
Thank you. I just figured out how to use the hand now. It wasn't working.
Well
It goes-
done. I'm glad
It
it was
goes
a
up
learning
automatically. It threw
experience
me
for
right
you.
off. I couldn't find the little thing, and here it was in the corner. Okay. Anyways, my question is around the Burton draft financial plan. Is there through the chair to staff? Is there any good sense in balancing out this 10%? To extend it over this 10% increase this particular year, extending it a little further into the future. Is there any good sense in that? Like lowering the 10%, sorry, I said that wrong.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, through the chair, I'd have to dig into it a little more, but I mean, the 10% is there for a reason to be able to meet our budgetary needs.
Yeah, and Alex might have a comment as well. Alex?
Yeah, through the chair, it's primarily driven by the project that we have going on, which is essentially phase 2 of replacing the asbestos cement main on the Burton Leap. So that is the $320,000 that you see projected for 2026.
Mhm.
So that I believe is the primary driver for that increase.
And maybe if I can continue along that line, if you look in your budget at year 2027, with the 10% increase, you're contributing that service, it's contributing $27,000 to reserves with a recommended $132,000 to $173,000 annual sustainable contribution. The 10% increase is equivalent to about $20,000. So if we don't go forward with that, there's almost zero contribution to reserve with a lot of need going forward. So the options are little, all a reduction of the 10% would do, assuming there's no other drivers coming out of our discussions with BC Hydro. But all of this would do is deferring a pain that's coming fast and furious towards this water system.
Thank you. So supplemental to that, if I may,
Yeah.
if I was to help this year's line replacement using some of the community works funding, would it change anything for those rates for the people of Burton? I mean, maybe not all of it. I have to look at my community works balance, but
Yeah, so if we do that, we are looking at project sizes in the $300,000-$400,000 range typically to replace a section of pipe, of asbestos pipe in these systems. So the contribution would have to be sizable to make a difference long term. Yes, we're recalibrating our asset management system all the time. We are looking at opportunities, and particularly in Burton, actually look at opportunities to potentially deliver this more cost effectively. But I certainly you can do, and maybe I back up. We saw the director commenting on Grandview and the higher increases than anticipated. One of the situations where we reduced the increases of rate in the budget process, unfortunately now it comes back to haunt us. And this, I see potentially being the same thing, right? We know we need higher contributions, we know we have financial needs, and we defer the process one more year. So yes, we can, but it is not recommended on staff side.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, it's tough to do it at this table as well. It's tricky. Yeah, anyway, so I don't even see a motion, so we don't have to approve these, or they're already approved, or they just go to the motion? For information, of course, if you've find some money and you can contribute it to a particular service, you can of course talk to staff and say, you know, we can do this, but at this point in time, we're trying to get these budgets ready for the March meeting. Which one? Alex.
Through the chair, yes. I just wanted to address a question that came up earlier with regard to the 2026 capital plan and the funding for those capital projects, as it wasn't broken out. Within these budgets, you can see where the funding is coming from if you look closely at the revenue section versus the capital project section. So I just wanted to bring that to director's attention if there was any question around the funding portion, because it wasn't broken up in that 2026 list. But also happy to speak individually to a project if there's any questions.
For sure. Any questions, Alex is there to answer for us. So that was for information. Thank you for the discussion. And we can now move on to item number 8, which are the notes from the various and sundry meetings that we all attended. Thank you, staff, for organizing those. And I assume it's for information, but of course, if anyone had their hand up, the chair would call upon them to ask their question or comment. But seeing none, I think we can move on to item number 9, which is the water commissions, which again is the same idea. I think these are minutes from meetings for our information, and you could comment or not, and I see there's no comments. So I think what we'll do then is move on to public time before adjourning the meeting. So I'll look online and call on any members of the public. Oh, I'll back up. I'll pause that public. Director Vandenberg, I see a late hand there.
Thank you, Director Weather.
Late. Go ahead.
I had a problem finding my hand. So I just want to go back and confirm that item 6.4 was am I okay to talk?
Just, yeah. What did you, no, absolutely. Okay. I was just looking for my hand too. 6.4, go ahead.
All right. 6.4, the verbal report given, in terms of the public ability to be able to read a report, will that verbal then be given to us in a written report? How will we get that? When? Right,
Through the chair.
because there was a public
Yeah,
engagement.
Give Chris
to
a
that
chance
report.
to comment there, please.
Yeah, through the chair, I do typically follow up with a written summary of what I presented at the meeting and even verbally. So I will provide that written summary, and I'll also, I guess, attach the minutes from the RRID public meeting that we had, as well as a link to their website that contains all the information that we presented at the meeting. So I think that should be sufficient to give Water Services Committee the idea of kind of where we're at with that acquisition.
Good, and that'll be good information for all of us if we have systems within our areas that might be showing some interest.
So,
Building on that, Director Vandenberg, going back in time, it's like Back to the Future. Go ahead, Director.
And I think the RID website include not just the information presented by the RDCA, but also the engineering report
Is on.
presentation, so it's all there.
Oh, that could be valuable information as well. So thanks for raising that,
Yeah.
Director Vandenberg, and thanks, Chris. And go ahead,
I'll
Chris.
add as well. I mean, one thing that came up at the RRID meeting is, we were talking to the trustees. There is, some desire to understand, what really happens once you get acquired by the RDCK. So we had made a commitment to actually do some matchmaking between the RRID trustees and members of some of the CACs that we currently deal with, to maybe do a little bit of storytelling, maybe some of the pros and the cons and their experience. So that's something that we were working on. Might reach out to the directors that sit on the various CACs. And of course the members as well, and see if we can get that matchmaking done and that information exchange.
Brilliant. Speed dating. Wow.
I thought that too.
Why use matchmaking?
Yeah,
I love that.
dating, whatever.
Director Vandenberg, are you okay with that? Supplemental, anything else? You're good. Okay, so I can move now to public time. So are there any members of the public that would like to ask a question of the committee? And I see no one coming forward. So with that slow
Something going
talkers
in.
of America approach, we'll move on to a motion to adjourn. And we do have a motion to adjourn and seconded in the room here. So thanks everyone for.
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
Take no questions.
No questions.
no questions. Okay, so yes, as we are, let's adjourn the meeting. Meeting is adjourned.
Good.
Director Kelly, what did you had your hand up? Anything you want to say, or were you just waving by? Waving by. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, see you.